Okay, folks, here we go again. So we're going to attempt to finish up these 2-pounders. Well, one of them's complete. Finish building them anyways. Then we can release a video on them. Let's see if we can adjust this a little bit. Okay, we good there? All right. Yeah, I don't know why it's so dull looking. Well, right now it's not connected, so that's an important thing. Tony's tips: if you're ever doing videos and your screen looks awfully dull, it's because it's not connected to power. It's still dull. Doesn't always work. Okay, so this is where we left off this morning on the 2-pounder. Now, not a whole lot left on it. Not a whole lot left on it. We did that. Okay. We attached this and the seat. Okay, good. We need the whole carriage needs to be popped off and trimmed up. I got some things that I think are pretty interesting to talk about once some people show up here. It would be annoying just to bring things up and then like, oh, there's nobody here to consume that. Whoa. I'm early. I am, man. I didn't want to keep me waiting. Yeah, this is the guys in the shop got done early. Or they got done at the time they should be getting done every day. So kind of you to notice. Oh man. Well, I didn't realize that until a couple days ago that it's actually the 43rd. 43rd? What am I kidding myself? It starts in the 3rd. I guess it'd be 83rd anniversary of Operation Crusader. And it's like a month-long thing. And that's the kind of the stuff that we're building for. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. So I decided to rewatch the video that I had seen the first 80% of. It was a Battlestorm video done by Tick on his YouTube channel. About Operation Crusader. He's done many of them, Stalingrad, so forth, but really does a really good job with the maps and the narration and the different sources. And so I was just watching that again. I'd seen it probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. I'm kind of looking at it through a different lens. I'm looking at it through the lens of we're doing this North African stuff, and what can I grab scenario ideas wise, or a tiny little part of a certain scenario, not the whole thing, because they're talking about 83 years. I'm reminded once more we don't have many World War II veterans left. It's depressing to see that generation go. Yeah. Back in the early 90s, I'd run into them all the time. I think a lot of them have passed on since the time period I left World War II, so sorry about that. May it not happen again. Let's take the rest of this little. My gripe with World War II is always like, man, I wish there was like a color photo of that. And then you go and do ancients and medievals, and like, man, I wish there was any record of that. It's like, it's extreme. It's really extreme. The lack of information, what's been lost. Millions of people have died, and nobody knows, and many times nobody knows anything about them. So, but with all the wonderful resources we have about World War II stuff, it's fun to try to peel back the layers of the onion. Because they didn't record the kind of stuff that we want to do as modelers. I mean, I want to be like, okay, I want to build this tank in this operation. What markings does it have? And sometimes there's some things you can find out, and there's some things you have to just do educated guesswork. Or just not care, if it's not important to you. It is to me, because, if I'm going to invent something, if I want to pull something out of my ass, well, I might as well be playing fantasy then. So, reading fantasy. And this is the little crank there. There we go. Yeah, I went to the model meeting yesterday, our monthly thing. I really didn't want to go. Just because it's after work on a work day and it's late, this time change is just really brutal. And if you listen to the news, it would make you think we're in World War III now. I don't listen to the news. I do a lot of books on Audible. And I went to a convention, one of my wargaming conventions, not this last one, but the previous one. So it would have been in April. And one of the guys I subscribe to on YouTube, or follow on YouTube, is this guy named Dan Carlin. And he has this show called Hardcore History, and he's got a lot of programming that's really good. And I hadn't watched any of his stuff in a long time. And he's got a podcast as well, so even though it's on YouTube, there's no pictures being shown, so you can listen to it on a car ride, right? It's not like, hey, what's going on over there? Oh, shit, you run into somebody, right? Like everybody else on the road. That's why we have so many accidents. Everybody's got their head up their phone, right? No, it's just going to be listening audio. I hadn't listened to see what he has on there for a while. And he's had really, good stuff on there. Like he's got a World War I series that's, I think, like 6 or 7 or 8 parts, and each part is anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. Free. That's what he does. And, he's not perfect. Not everybody is, not everything they do, not everything anybody you watch or listen to is perfect, including me. Okay? And, so what he likes to do is he likes to use a lot of quotes, and he says quote unquote a lot. So it kind of distracts the thing. But he's not a historian. He's just a dude that's an ex-war gamer that's into broadcasting, and he just has that. He had a political one too, but I think he stopped doing that one as well. But anyhow, so I caught up with him in April, and I'm like, okay, let's see what he has on, see what new program he has, and he had an interview with a guest who was an author, and I'm like, fuck. I mean, I don't, this is like, right in the realm of, what is it, NPR, right? Which is like, usually has like subject matter that doesn't interest me, and lack of emphasis on topics, and not lack of emphasis, but just people that are excited about shit. You never see anybody on NPR or something like that that's really excited. They're just they're definitely on the slow drugs and medicated. So, but I'm like, whatever. I'm listening to this interview, and the next thing you know, I get sucked in, and this is an interview by a lady who is an investigative reporter, and she did a book called. She just came out with a book recently called Nuclear War: A Scenario. And I listened to the interview for about an hour and a half, and I was fascinated with reading this book. But as I know, I don't read books well because they put me to sleep. They relax me. So I looked on Audible, and she has the book on Audible, and it's narrated by her. So I listened to this thing, and it is depressing. I mean, I basically read. I have for my entire adult life, read gory war stuff, conflict, really bad stuff that happened to people in warfare, right? And I'm kind of have like a thick skin about it, just you can't help but do that just by reading it over and over again, And I'm reading this book, which is, fiction, a work of fiction, and I'm disturbed. I'm really, really, really disturbed. Yeah, I've said it before I even read this thing. Nuclear weapons are the worst thing that's ever been invented. Anything else is better. Poison gas, whatever. Nuclear war, people get vaporized. No, people get liquefied that aren't even involved in the conflict. It's not like, if you go in there and you're going into a combat zone and they give you a rifle or a helmet or something like that, and you go in there and you have at least a chance of doing something against someone who's trying to do something to you. But just to be totally, your family to be liquefied in an instant is just, and there'll be no record of anything left of them or any record of where they lived or what. I mean, it's really fucking disturbing. It is really disturbing. So, I'm against anybody starting any kind of World War IIIs because that's, But yeah, I don't listen to the news, because it sure seems like they want us to get into a war again, It's the end of the world. Yeah, it's the only song by them that I like. No more shiny, happy people. Whether or not they're holding hands is irrelevant. Really disturbing book. And it's not done as horror. It's like done very matter of fact. And anyhow. Let's hope it's less likely for that to happen in the next 4 years. We'll see. You read some of these news things, and I'm like, you think, like, I'm not involved in politics at all, but you think, like, okay, send me over there, I could solve it. But the problem is I don't have an agenda. I don't have, like, well, you got to do this because of this, or this, there's money laundering, or we got weapons deals with people. I'm like, I'd just be like, okay, you want this, how do you guys stop fighting? Because that doesn't benefit anybody, but there's more to it than that. I'm too, childish to understand that. What's the name of the book again? It's called Nuclear War: A Scenario. If you do Audible, I recommend. It's one credit, and I was captivated. I was captivated. Let me pull it up here. Nuclear War. I thought it was excellent. So, give it a shot. You know, I don't know that she's promoting some kind of a narrative or anything like that, or, you know. If I read something I know that's obviously somebody that's on the fringe one way or the other, I don't want to read it. But it seemed like it was pretty balanced, you know. But she's apparently she's an investigative reporter and did a lot of interviews with people at different levels for years, of different levels behind the scenes, and got their input. Like, you know, when this happens, how long does it take to react to it? It's almost required reading. You know. And you can't get rid of nuclear weapons because, you know, if you get rid of them, then the other people have them and you're fucked. You know, so... Worst invention. I've said it before, even before that book. I mean, I lived through, you know... not duck and cover, but through the 80s and stuff. And, you know... Everybody thought, you know, and you think what a nuclear man. It's just you need to read that. It's just really, it's not even what you think it is. So, yeah, the news wants to panic you. There's things to worry about, but you can't worry about everything all the time because it just turns you into basically the boy who cried wolf. Ah, look at this. Ah, okay, what is it? Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, over here! Ah! Like, what's that big a deal? Oh, and then then they'll go and you know, actually make a big deal about something that is a big deal, and you just ignore them, you know? And everything is an opinion. Like, just tell me the fucking news, right? I mean, I graduated from college. I've had a steady job for a long time. I can figure out what that means. No, what it means is, no, I don't want you to tell me what it means. Because as soon as you're doing that, I don't trust you. You have an agenda. Like, you know, we're watching election results, right? And I specifically did not want to watch the election results on a site, on a news channel that was going to skew things into what I thought I wanted the results to be. So I actually watched something that was almost the opposite. You know, I'm tired of being manipulated, you know. Your dad was a bit of a Cold War prepper, and we always focused on canning and being self-sufficient. I ain't canning that stuff. I just stock up on ammo. Just gotta know who has the stuff. You know, I'm not worried about starving. I'm worried about, like, everything that ever happened, any contribution that you ever did in life is like gone in an instant. You know, or, you know, your skin's melting and you're, you know, for 30 seconds, right? It just, I'm telling you, it is just like, you find out somebody's going to start a nuclear war, we're all going to jump on the bandwagon and get rid of that one person. Like, it's not a scenario that's, it was really disturbing. His concern wasn't so much radiation and all that, because realistically we're fucked. But dealing with people going crazy, oh yeah, that is a problem. I mean, hurricanes. Toilet paper, paper towels. People going crazy. Like, I live in an area where hurricanes pass through here, and there's not huge loss of life. There just isn't. I mean, unless a tree falls on you, you keep the trees away from this area. Winds don't go over 70 miles an hour. They just don't here. But people freak out, and they'll run stoplights. I mean, it's like the zombie apocalypse. He had ammo out the yazoo. Well, I know a person like that, but and that's not me. We're not going to mention any names, but they're not on the show with me today. All right, so we need to attach. I feel like there's something I have to attach before I do this. Let's look at the instructions. Yes, this little thing. This little thing right here. Man, I keep flipping this thing around, and it's like no matter which way I turn it, it's like, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. Yeah, the thing that happens at gas lines, where people first of all, there's these huge gas lines and people get impatient, and somebody will just jump in front of 40 people, and it comes to blows, and the last hurricane that came through Florida, was it Helene? Or was the other one? There were people in Tampa. There were ladies fist fighting in Tampa over, people going nuts over toilet paper during the COVID lockdowns, an indication how easily we're tilted as a society. But I won't get political. I watch this to talk about models and other hobby stuff. Yep, me too. And I don't watch the news. They did it to themselves. Not to get political. The problem isn't being political. The problem is there's a lot of people that are on a crusade. Okay, that you can't reason with them. I know one person really, really well that they are traveling right now, and they think the end of the world is going to happen. That they're going to be rounded up, shipped up in boxcars, and I mean just extreme stuff, because of the election. And they have a problem. They're mentally suffering. And I think it's because of the drugs they've smoked their whole life, but that's just me, But those people you can't talk to. I went to a game convention and about a year ago, and I went up with this guy who's kind of opinionated, a little belligerent opinion. He's like, I don't want to talk about religion or politics. And we talked about both of them, and nobody got upset because I'm not on a crusade, So, but anyways, the war in Ukraine. When it first started, I'm glued to the TV, right? And then, what did happen? They went to that one island and they did Snake Island or whatever. It's like, you must surrender or we're going to kill all of you. And the Ukrainians basically told them, or we were told the Ukrainians were basically gave them the finger and basically did like the heroes of Bastogne that said, nuts, we're not going to surrender. And they killed him. That was the story. And then a week later you find out, well, they didn't really kill him. That's the last thing I watched on the war in Ukraine. I refuse to watch anything else. Because if you change that thing, something so simple, like you're just being manipulated. So I'm not saying one side's in it or not. I'm just saying that you're basically, you're listening to fiction. So I don't want to listen to fiction. I don't like listening to history programming or reading history books that's a work of fiction. I don't like reading the World War II memoirs of German generals that are full of shit. As soon as I catch wind that something's like BS, I'm like, I'm not interested anymore. Because what happens is it kind of taints you into, anything else that you learn from that. So Especially books. Movies, you're like, yeah, it's a movie. They're all, messed up, All the Russian movies are, everything's glorious here, until the Germans came, and that kind of stuff. So, but, yeah, as soon as I catch wind that something's obviously not right, I'm just not interested in it anymore. And that doesn't mean everything I listen to is correct. I just haven't caught wind that it's bullshit yet. Let's enlarge this a little bit more. I don't like someone's political religious views pushed on me, and I'm not allowed to say otherwise is the biggest issue. Yeah. Well, so we had this the first storm that came through this year was going right towards St. Petersburg, and my daughter goes to college there, and so she was like, "Well, you got to come back. You need to evacuate from there," and actually, she had two. The first one was she ended up going to Miami because it kind of came this way, and she would have gotten stuck in a bunch of traffic. But this last one, she evacuated, and she had a roommate who lives in another state, so she didn't have anywhere to go. So the roommate comes with us, and I'm cool. But my daughter says constantly, "Dad, you can't bring up this and you can't bring that because she's really sensitive." I get that, okay? I get that. It's still my home, and I don't really bring that stuff up anyways. You know, um, I just say a lot of anti-woke stuff. I don't like woke stuff, but I don't, when I see something stupid, but I don't, necessarily, have a problem with somebody being a certain way. But I'm in disagreement that I have to shut the fuck up and make sure that they don't get offended, but yet they can run their mouth about everything and I don't get to say anything. That's kind of what you're saying, is you can't, it goes both ways. It's, if I'm going to be quiet to respect you, then you need to be quiet to respect me, right? It goes both ways. So you have your views, they have their views, let that be that. Yeah, when people crusade, to use your term, that's when the contention comes into play. Exactly. And I think people don't want to talk to each other about stuff. Like, let's say somebody feels completely opposite about how I are. Let's like how I think. Let's have a discussion. I don't need to change how you think, and you're not going to change how I think. But at least I can understand where you're coming from. You know. The COVID thing that's the worst thing I've experienced in my life. The COVID thing, and I'm glad that my dad wasn't around for that because he would have lost his fucking mind. But I know people, you can't have a conversation about it. That's it. This is what it is. And that's what it is. And it's like they don't understand that there's some incongruencies that just don't make sense. We were born with a brain, so let's use it. And when you start saying, well, if 1 plus 1 equals 2, then 2 plus 1 now equals 5. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So, like, explain it to me. Like, don't question it. That's a problem. I'm not, I'm not one of those people. So, all right, back to 83 years ago, where the good guys were fighting what do we call them? The crooked coconuts. Yes, sorry, the British are the good guys. That's not up for debate. Hey, I'm American. We look at everything like that, right? Sure, nothing's black and white, but there's some people that are better than the other ones. I'm just saying, if you got to pick a side, I'm gonna pick. There's certain sides I'm gonna pick. This is that piece that I lopped off a little bit of it this morning. I'm like, hey, be careful, and I cut the thing off. Hey, I'm human. I'm trying to work on that. America. Did that start with W? I think it started with W. Sure, around about that time. You know, I mean, I feel like I could discuss anything with a reasonable person. If you're unreasonable, no, just just go away. You know, but only to a certain point, because at some point, you can't change anything. Even if you ran for office, you can't change anything. So, okay. And then this little piece is the intolerant piece that will not stay on there. I think Bush made it popular, famous, depending on who you talk to. I just like to say diabetes, like Wilford Brimley. I never saw that movie. There's old people I like. I never liked him. I'm sorry. He was probably a great individual in real life. He just turned me off. There's some old people that just turn me off. I mean, famous old people. As a general rule, I like old people. But there's just some that are just like, I've had about enough of this guy, you know. And unfortunately, Mr. Brimley was one of those. Sorry about that, sir. Okay, I gotta figure out how the hell this little piece goes. Cocoon. I never saw Cocoon. 1986. I'm 15 years old. Why would a 15-year-old watch Cocoon? Unless I like to knit. Yeah, Cocoon. Mm-hmm. Wilford Brimley. Yeah, I never cared for him. Sorry. I can't like everybody. I think it attaches here. Don't make me pull out the super glue, which I really don't want to do. Was he in anything when he was young? I don't think he was. Middle age or old? Do you like Archie Bunker? I didn't grow up with it. Um, um, Hold on a second. God, what's his last name? The character. Al Bundy is my Archie Bunker. Man, that was a funny show. Holy shit, that was a funny show. Back in 1989, that was a funny show. My dad never watched Archie Bunker. He didn't like Archie Bunker or the hippie. It's like you got nowhere to go either way. If you don't like either one of those two characters, you're kind of hosed. You figure that time period, people on television, I don't know, I'm speaking for him. He's not around to speak for me, but I'm thinking, my dad grew up at a time where if you were on TV, you were like a decent individual. You were like, you weren't working class. I'm not saying that, you were some lord or something like that, but, that's what you're used to seeing. And if you get somebody that's like Roseanne, basically, right? You're like, kind of rubs you the wrong way. That's why I'm going to guess why he didn't like it. You know, not working class, but just like, that's before my time. I didn't watch any of those 70s shows. Or the 70s show. I didn't watch the 70s show or shows in the 70s. But, like British actors. When I grew up, British actors, everybody spoke RP. There might have been an exception, but pretty much everybody that was an English actor was, you know, didn't speak with a commoner tongue. You could understand what they were saying. Even the only one I can think of was Michael Caine, and Michael Caine, even though he speaks Cockney, is pretty easy to understand. I remember watching Cheers, Happy Days, Married with Children, The Jeffersons, Family Matters, Roseanne. I'm very boomer for someone who's 37. Come on, man. That's a different old person. Cheers. Okay, so I never watched Cheers. CBS, okay? There are, at least in the 80s and 90s, there is, if you notice, the sets that are done by ABC, NBC, and CBS kind of look different. You can tell what it is. You can tell who made the show, what broadcasting station made the show just by the look of the sets. And I don't like CBS sets. They're just something like they lack color. I don't know. But Cheers, I never got into Cheers. Never got into Frasier. Is Cheers CBS? Cheers actually might be NBC. God, we would back in the day when you would watch live TV, we would have the day we had our model meeting at the hobby store was the same day that Home Improvement came on, and we would stay to watch that. Early 90s. But now you can just watch things, you don't miss an episode. You can watch every single episode, like in order, in the order that they're supposed to be done, so. Corn Pop. Not sure what that is. Never watched Cheers. Never watched Happy Days before my time. Married with Children. I watched it, but it wasn't on all the time. I live in a town that I don't consider to be a really small town, but it's got 150,000 people in it now, but it only has 2 TV stations, ABC and Fox. And Fox didn't start until about 87 or 88 or something like that. And I didn't have cable. I moved out. I was poor. I didn't have any cable, so I watched whatever was on there. That's why I watched Monday Night Football in the early '90s. Not because I liked Monday Night, but it was informative, and it was on on ABC. So yeah, didn't watch Family Matters. Didn't watch Roseanne. Home Improvement, King of the Hill, NCIS. I can't name them all. King of the Hill should be much better than it is. It has all of the characters there. It's just not that funny. It's got a lot of missed opportunities in it. What other show did we watch recently? Oh, Schitt's Creek, okay? The new show, Schitt's Creek, with Eugene Levy in it. All the characters are there. That should be, and it's okay, but that could be a funny as hell if there's just a lot of missed opportunity in it, you know. We watched like 2 seasons as a family. We're like, can we move on? Yeah, okay. You know, it was like there's a lot of like awkward pauses and stuff, and it's not like that it needs to be one thing after another, but you know, there's a new show that's on Amazon that's freaking hilarious, and it's called. Apparently, I didn't know it was a ripoff of a British show, and it's called Dinner with the Parents, and it's fucking hilarious. It is really really funny, but that's the kind of humor that my wife and daughter and I like. You know, it's really 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 funny, and it has no laugh track, which is great. You don't need a laugh track if it's funny. You know, so. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. You know, it's just kind of hard to find something that everybody likes, you know? And too many sitcoms are like, especially like if they're on the Disney Channel or something like that, you know, that everybody's an idiot except the kid. The kid that's never held the job, you know, the punk ass little kid, they're the ones that know everything. Well, didn't you go out and fucking work, you piece of shit, you know? I'm not saying they make the dads out to be stupid, but they make the moms out to be stupid too. It's like, all right, well then you go out to work, you punk ass. You hated Seinfeld. I didn't either. I didn't hate Seinfeld. Okay, I just didn't get it. It's too New Yorky. You know, it like appeals to people from New York. New York is a different world. L.A. is a different world. That's not America. I'm sorry. It's your tiny little thing. You know. And there's things like that. Miami's not America. I mean, it's not doesn't fit. It doesn't appeal to a lot of people. You know. We love Friends because Friends was in New York, but it wasn't New Yorky. And the writing is really good, and the people work really well with it. You know, maybe it's not your thing. That's fine. It worked for us. You know. Much better than How I Met Your Mother, which is more New Yorky than Friends, I think. Not by a lot, but... Okay. We have the little flap for the ammo container, wherever the hell it went. Did we throw it away and we weren't done with all the pieces? Is that what we did? Yep. Wouldn't have been a big deal, but... This has another frame on the bottom that's used if you're going to not have this in a firing position. And because I have to use the wheels both ways, if I had a different set of wheels, I would build this and then make it so it's the top portion is removable. But since there's not another set of wheels, bye-bye. Because the only reason I ever have it moving would be like if the scenario was like it was part of a convoy or something like that, and they had to ambush it or something. I had some friends who thought it was the epitome of comedy, and it annoyed me to the point of contempt for the show. Okay, well, I can actually understand that mentality. Like, I don't like, what's the Nerd Burglar show? Big Bang. I just don't, I don't like Big Bang, you know, at all. CBS show. You think, your friends think you're probably crazy for that line of thinking, but I get it. You're speaking my language. Yeah, there's something you don't like, and then it becomes so popular, and it's like, that's how I feel about ketchup. Like I hate ketchup, and lots of people like ketchup, so I hate it even more. But unlike ketchup, Friends doesn't smell bad. Yeah, I get it. There's a lot of things that are that way, you know. Well, you know, you can get other friends. They're fortunate that you got to pick them for friends for a little while, and it's time to broaden your horizons, you know. Oh, you did say you had some friends, so you've already gotten rid of them. I see. That's good. You dip your fries in mayo, so I can get for the dislike of ketchup. It's overrated. It tastes cheap. Is the problem I have with it. If I was almighty, yes, I'd be wasting my time on what I'm about to tell you. I would ketchup would have never been created and just have cocktail sauce. I like cocktail sauce. You know, I like everything else tomatoey except ketchup. And you go to Canada and those fuckers even eat ketchup chips. It's the only thing I don't like about Canada that I encountered. I'm sure there's other things I don't like, but we had a great time in Canada. But ketchup chips? What's wrong with you? When I go through the drive-through, which is not very often, many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I was had to go somewhere. I had to go meet the wife in Miami or something like that. I was on a road trip. I was in a hurry. So I go through and I'm like, all right, I don't really want any of this, but let me get something that they can't fuck up. That was my mistake. I thought they couldn't fuck it up, right? So I go to Wendy's, I think is what it was. Let me just get it a plain double cheeseburger, whatever the hell they call it, right? And I like lots of other stuff on it. But you got to keep it simple because those knuckleheads will fuck it up, right? You know? Because I've had them like, okay, I'm fine with the lettuce, I'm fine with the tomato, I'm fine with the onion, I just don't want ketchup. And they're like, no, this must be a mistake. Just give them ketchup. You know, like, what the fuck's wrong with you? So anyways, I kept it simple. I go down the road, get on the interstate. I'm going, 72 miles an hour, whatever. Yes, I was speeding at least 2 or 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. And I go open the bag. I'm like, man, this bag's not smelling good, man. I'm telling you. And it had ketchup on it. I got so pissed, I threw it out the window. I threw the burger out the window. So I'm not smelling that shit going down the road. Like, nobody that's working fucking minimum wage is gonna make me fucking eat ketchup. You better have a firearm, and I better believe you're gonna shoot me before I'm gonna eat ketchup. I think that's what the Scottish do. Their version of ketchup is about like cocktail sauce, so I've been told. Yeah, I think ketchup has a couple things in there. One of them is sugar, and the other one is white vinegar. And I think when those two things mix together, it's like dead people to me, So, and I don't eat dead people. It's not the tomato part, and I know so many people that love ketchup, but they can't stand tomatoes. I'm like, the fuck's wrong with you, man? Oh, it's the texture. Tomatoes don't have a texture. They're tomatoes. They're vegetables. You eat them. Vegetables only suck when they got served to you in the cafeteria at school, right? The cafeteria at school, it's like they make you like want to hate things that are healthy for you. You know. If there was a universal symbol for hatred of healthy things, it would look like some bitch with a hairnet. That's what it would look like, because that lady ruins everything for everybody. Like broccoli, spinach is wonderful, right? Spinach is better. Well, you might not like spinach, but spinach is better than lettuce. It's got a lot more flavor, right? It's good for you. Not in school. Cream spinach. What kind of planet does that come from? Like, how many legions stepped on that, to create that? I mean, it's like, no wonder kids don't eat vegetables. You can be a fine young cannibal. I'm kicking it like it's 1989. But I'm terrible at lyrics because I don't hear well. And some people mumble. So. One of the things I drive my wife crazy is when I repeat the things I hear, and she's like, "You need to stop doing that." So, well, I need you to understand why I'm going fucking crazy, because I think people are saying one thing and they're not saying that. Enunciate. Okay, now little ammo basket thingy is open. Okay, now we are done with this guy right here. Okay, and we're not going to glue that to the base because, well, we are eventually, but let's put the goop and stuff on the base. So this is, we'll move on. We need to do the other, do the other two crew members. What do I do with my sprigs once you snipped off all the parts? I tried to use them for terrain bits, but there's so much of it. There is, and if you buy stuff from like Plastic Soldier Company, they give you so much extra things, and I just don't have a heart to get rid of it. I save it, I cut the extra. I'd use this for like making stretch sprue, but stretch sprue doesn't work worth a shit anymore. The stuff the plastics we used to use in the 80s or whatever must have been really toxic, but they made good stretch sprue. These things don't work worth a damn. What do I do with them? I put them in a big pile out back and I burn them on Earth Day. No. Yeah, if I can find a use for them, I'll try to. You know, you think, well, they don't take up that much space. Well, after you have 50 of them, they take up a lot of space. You know. I would never do that, by the way. But people that worry about stuff like that, they're really intolerant of you like not being worried about stuff they're really concerned about. People that are like, man, I'm really worried about the environment. And if you're like, they're like, it'll drive them freaking crazy. You know, because there's levels of worry. Okay? Like, my first level of worry is, don't go to the beach and leave trash on the fucking beach. Okay? Because the Earth's still going to be there. All right, not to be political, but you know, the Earth will adapt. Yeah, it's not good. You're killing it, but you're making things ugly. You know, and let's say this was something you drink at the beach. Right? It weighs this much. Well, after you consume this, guess what? It's easier to carry because it weighs less. Take it back with you, not leave it on the fucking beach. So, you know, that's like priority. Like, don't fucking litter, you know. And yes, my hamburger that I threw out the window was biodegradable. There's some crow that ate it that was like going to eat it and realized it had ketchup. He's like, fuck this shit. Stupid white people putting ketchup on things. Back in your Warhammer days, I used to make terrain bits out of them, and my friend who played orcs would use some to kit bash his vehicles. Who are the good guys in Warhammer? I know you're probably going to say there aren't any. But who is the least bad guy in Warhammer? It can't be the orcs. You know, no, I'm not on that side. You know? Like, I prefer more consonants. Okay? I care about the environment. I hug a tree. Yeah. I like trees, okay? I don't want my house in them. You know, Imperium of Man, of course, yeah. Well, some people are, you know, embarrassed that they were born as humans. You should be lucky, like, you know. You don't have... Yes, there's humans that are bad. Don't be a bad human. Right? There's lots of bad humans. There's lots of bad humans that were around 80 years ago. And less time than that. I'm going to go grab a soda to feed my Coke habit, and I'll be right back. The Imperium of Man. It's easy. Just don't join chaos. Well, I don't like chaos in real life, anyways. I actually hate chaos. 40K, what do you got? Well, assuming these things haven't been taken away, you got humans, orcs, Eldar, dwarves, other dwarves, those gene stealer or whatever. So, like, what would they be considered? They would be considered like Borg, those just like hive things, right? Chaos. Aren't they like some kind of like taurine encrusted things? They're like some kind of minotaur, not minotaur like, but they're like something bull related, some kind of space bulls or some shit like that. That's all I know from it. I've never played that stuff. I'm just, yeah. If you give me all those things, yeah, it's humans. I mean, it's like no brainer, no brainer. And the Emperor is like what? Some guy that's still animated. It's like they plugged Reagan in, and he's still doing his thing. He's plugged into the friggin' wall. Squats. League of Voltan are the space dwarves. Squats. Squats, you gotta say, squats! What army are you playing? Squats! Excuse you, Ice Maker. Used to play Imperial Guard because I like tanks. So, they keep changing it. Yeah, they always gotta fuck with things, right? I had the original 40K rulebook. I don't know why. The one that came that was beautiful, and then the pages kept falling out of it. This is like around 1988. And I did, thanks to White Dwarf, actually paint a squad of Imperial Guard. Because I saw an illustration in White Dwarf that I liked. And, but I think in that game, Imperial Guard is supposed to be just like a bunch of stooges that aren't any good. Almost like Volk's Grenadiers or something that's not very good. Space Marines I tend not to like factions that are like, ugh, and then they just go in there do their thing, I like a little bit more finesse. Military finesse. With that said, I'd play anybody, but I remember looking through that book and I couldn't figure out how to start playing a game. It was like overwhelming. So I never played it. And I don't really know why it's always been really popular, especially with a lot of people that have jumped ship. A lot of the designers for the game, the original ones, have jumped ship when the company went corporate or other reasons. But they always have like a steady flow of like new people. Like there's other wargaming other than that, and I don't necessarily have a problem with Games Workshop. There's certainly many of their products. I should say Citadel. I don't like calling them Games Workshop. I'm old school. It was Citadel, right? They had these fantasy figures, and they had the name of the figure of what they were in that little piece of metal between the two legs, where they would go into the slaughter base. I loved that, like it was, you knew who they were when you looked at them in the packs. I liked that. So to me, it was always Citadel. Citadel paints. I still have some of the original ones. The Citadel Mark I paints are superb. And I said that so much on some. I was on some Facebook group, and I said, the Citadel Mark I paints are so good that I bet they changed them because they weren't selling enough of them. Because I still have this. I mean, this thing is. I was going to say it's older than me. No. But it is 40 fucking years old. And the paint's still good. So they did something right. And but when these things came out, I know there was lots of other paints, but paints that were around me that I was able to buy, they only had like the testers type lids. So they were, aluminum or whatever, crimped, right? And then you would have like a piece of cardboard in there that if you don't set it on there perfect, they would always leak. So these things were almost like leak proof compared to them. Now, you do have this little elbow here, this hinge that ends up breaking, but this paint is awesome. And I said that, and they're like, well, you're just bad-mouthing GM. You're a GM basher. I'm like, I didn't even respond to him. I'm leaving this fucking group. Bunch of candy asses can't deal with, some humor. No, they made a good product. And you don't make that anymore? Like, what's wrong with you? You're trying to cut corners. Well, don't cut corners. If you gotta charge more for this paint, if this is like, well, this used to be $3 and we can't continue manufacturing it, so we need to go up to $8. Okay, but don't make it a piece of shit and $8 and half as much as before. Okay? That's the problem I have with the decisions that Games Workshop / Citadel's made. So the Mark I paints are great. The ones now are okay. The ones in between now and these sucked freaking ass. When you use a paint once, put the screw back on, come back 6 months later, 3 months later, 2 months later, open it again, it's dried out and you can't use it again, that paint fucking sucks. Okay? And they knew better. It's not like, well, it's our first time making paints. No, the first paints you made were fucking phenomenal. Almost all of my World War II figures were painted with Citadel paints because they apply so freaking well. I went from polyester to those. Those are like, I'd say a Cadillac, but Cadillacs aren't well made. I didn't like Space Marines because it's genetic super soldiers. Yeah, I don't like that either. Yeah, powered armor, big whoop. I prefer something more believable. Guns, guts, and steel. Humanity. Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's not Games Workshop bashing. That's you knew better and you're cutting corners. That's a QC problem. But the stuff I have now is good. But they pulled the fucking stunt again. Because I used to use Agrax Earthshade. And they changed Agrax Earthshade from a big bottle. I may not have it anymore. But I have an Agrax Earthshade that came in this size bottle, and this was, I don't know, $6, right? And it was 24 mil, or zero point 0.4 ounces for us normal people. And they went to 18 mil, and this cost $2 more than the large one. But that's not the. But wait, there's more. This was a consistency that was sticky. As soon as you put this on, you couldn't like move it again because you would like leave lines and stuff. That's the problem. You know? You don't learn. But, you know, corporate or whatever. I didn't have a problem with corporations until, you know, corporations started being shitty. I don't know, maybe they've always been shitty, but I'm just saying, you know, some of us didn't realize they were shitty the whole time. So that's one thing I was thinking about the other day. Have we purposefully, unintentionally made corporations shitty? What I mean by that is, a lot of us depend on, for our retirement, some kind of 401k mutual funds type thing, right? I do. I do it. You know, my company does this amount of match. I do that because otherwise you're just leaving stuff on the table. So there's like this huge demand for companies to be, well, we did 3% last year, we got to do 4 this year, or we got to do 6, but the economy's worse, we got to do 7, you know. So they cut every corner they can so that they show that they did a profit, because that's what we want as investors, but we're fucking ourselves along the way, you know. I don't know. I just think the most important thing is, you know, don't make a shitty product. But, you know, it's like going out to eat, right? I don't like going out to eat anymore because it's expensive, and it's like a 50-50 chance of it being a shitty meal. And that wasn't the case. And it costs more. So like, okay, well, I get it. I get things have to cost more, but why are they shitty? You know, because I'd rather like not have a meal than have a shitty meal. It's like, hey, I bought some really cool. I got some really good shoes, but you know, they fall off my feet or whatever. Well, then you overpaid for them. You know, you just want accountability. There's no accountability anymore, man. I'm telling you, we got to get rid of lawyers and bring back duels. At least there's only, after the end of the duel, there's only one dickhead left. It's not like they're still around and they're countersuing each other again. It's like, stop. There's no accountability for anybody. There isn't. Well, this has been a lively discussion. Preaching to the choir, yeah. That's why I don't watch the news. And everybody should want accountability, right? Everybody should want that. Everybody should want honesty and integrity. I would think. Regardless of how you feel about things, you know? Everybody wants fair elections and clean water and, you know, I want to live somewhere where the water is dirty. No, nobody wants that. But how you go about that, you know, varies. And nobody wants somebody in government to say, you need to do this. And you need to do this to be safe because this is how you need to behave. And then they go and do whatever the fuck they want. Nobody should be online with that. Well, he's my guy. Well, fuck him. Hang him. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, it's not cool. You know, I don't care who it is. You know, just because he's your party or whatever. I'm like, you got to do this and do this and do this, but I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can drive drunk and run over people, and you know, that's not cool, man. Everybody should be on board that that's not acceptable. Like World War II, okay? I've seen this shirt that's been floating around. Says something about, I like to punch Nazis or something like that. Well, the problem is there needs to be a little caveat. And commies too, okay? Because Nazis suck, but commies do too. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, or the one isn't, but, you know, usually the people that wear stuff like that, you know, just saying. They both suck. That's why the Eastern Front's great. Which bad guy do you want to win? Okay, this guy is... Some of these figures are really good. So they can make Russian stuff that's crap. Because Zvezda's Russian. And they can make Chinese stuff that's crap. But Trumpeters, there's some great Chinese... So, you know, it's not like, well, this country always makes things that are crappy. Not if they want to, you know? Trumpeter stuff is fantabulous. Some of these figures are the best figures I've ever seen in the 1/72 scale. They got great faces. Hold up, a duly elected official is telling Wall what I should do and what I should not do. I'm sorry, who's the employee here? These people forgot who puts them in office and when they get there. That's right. You know? If somebody that gets paid, if somebody's a public servant and they get paid $200,000 a year, they serve for 4 years, that's $800,000, okay, before taxes, and then they come out a multimillionaire, everybody should be questioning that. It doesn't make sense. It's not right. Well, they can't live on that salary. Okay, but that's fine. Then, you know, we pay them $1 million a year to do that job. Okay, so it's a job I don't want to do. Okay, you couldn't pay me to be in politics. All right, that's fine. You get paid $1 million a year, but we better not find out that the math doesn't fucking add up, because then you're gonna, you know, we're gonna come after you. There's got to be some accountability. It's not cool. Now, I don't care what your political leanings are. That should make sense. And if it doesn't, you're unreasonable. I'm sorry. You know. That's why they teach you math in school at such a young age. But that's like, I went out to lunch with this guy, and he's like, we can't talk politics or religion. And every conversation we had was like that, where it makes sense. Like, you know, we all have more things in common. The news always wants, and a lot of other things in the news, they always want to say, hey, you see that guy? You haven't realized it yet, but you shouldn't like that guy because he doesn't like you. It's like, look, we need to find what we have in common more than our differences. Just like wargaming, right? I don't care that you do 28 millimeter and I do 15 or whatever. We're all in together, okay? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. What's important is we don't tolerate cheaters, okay? Cheating people can just go fly a kite up their ass. I hadn't said that in a long time. Sideways. Not cool, okay? It doesn't matter that some people play Games Workshop and some people play the other stuff. You know, it doesn't matter, you know? What's important is that we're having fun. If you're not having fun doing a hobby, then you probably need to go back to work. Because hobbies don't make a whole lot of money. You might as well be enjoying yourself while you're doing this. But as I like to say, this keeps me from being an alcoholic. Because I basically don't drink. You know, but I do this. I play with little men. What? Well, that's because I got a couple women around here somewhere. They're Soviet sniper women. Ludmilla and company. I got to paint them up. That'd be pretty badass. commie wench. Ludmilla. Oh, man. Thanks for coming by, man. I could talk about anything. It's all how you talk about it. I did a video for Historicon a couple years ago where I walked through and I looked at all the vendors, and I really enjoyed doing that, right? I wasn't promoting anybody, just like, hey, look, you didn't make it to the con. Here's what you kind of missed out on, right? Not like, ha, you missed out on this. It's just like, no, it's cool to see, you know, what's there. I've looked at other people's videos. And one of this guy is at the con. He's a t-shirt seller and does videos and stuff like that. He has some controversial right-wing stuff on there. I get it. He doesn't have right-wing stuff like, you know, we're going to send you to a, you know, some kind of a camp, but which technically that's left-wing. But anyhow, he doesn't have, you know, violent stuff like that. He just has things that, you know, somebody who's a left-winger wouldn't like, right? And this guy that did his video got really upset. Yeah, he got upset because, you know, if it had been the other way around, you know, if it was just a bunch of commie shit, he wouldn't have a problem with it, probably. I know, I've lived with these folks in this town next door forever, you know. It's okay to be upset, but, you know, I just know how it is, so. You know, you don't like something somebody has, go somewhere else. Like, I don't like that, I'm going this way. That's what I do. There's lots of things I don't like. I don't need to get into pissing matches with them. We got a local Facebook group for these two towns that I live in. Well, I live in one of them. I don't live in both of them, but I live close to the other one. And they're both suburbs of the town I grew up in. And anytime somebody posts something, there's always someone. And I'm not a person that thinks Facebook is bad at all, because I don't get drawn into shit, right? I think it's great for a hobby. I think it's fantabulous for a hobby. Once we went from the bulletin board service where you needed to go to a hosting service to put pictures of what you've been doing, then it just became intolerable. You know, like I'm not going to pay for a subscription to PhotoBucket or whatever, you know. When it's free forever, I just don't get that much for use. So I moved to do most of my hobby stuff on Facebook. But I don't get involved in controversial shit, you know. Like I said before, I'm in the leave me the hell alone crowd. Absolutely. So I go see something I don't like. I don't get involved in it. These people in this town, this discussion literally happened three months ago. Somebody posts a picture of this car going around a school bus. And they basically said, I just saw this teenager do this, and if this is your son, you need to have a talking to him because they were doing this. They were passing a school bus going 50 miles an hour, and the school bus flag was out and all this kind of shit. And the first person that responds to them is, well, you shouldn't be driving holding a phone taking a video. And it was back and forth for days. For days, it's like, oh my God, would you guys like take bats and like finish it in the parking lot, please? Like that's how everything is. It's like, if you got time to spar with somebody that long, you know, you need to like go do take the bar or something, you know? And that's not a Facebook problem. That's a people problem. You know, that person is that way in every single thing that they engage in. You know, I've gone to conventions, and I haven't had a whole lot of bad experiences with conventions, but I have some people that are just like, I'd rather not play a game than play with that individual. And there's people that are like that all the time. I'd say half the people at conventions, I don't want to be around them. And then half of that other half, so 25% of them are really cool. And that happens with everything. If you're into cars, same thing. Half the people are dickheads. Oh, you got one of those? That's no good. I have three of them and they're no good. I don't know why you drive that piece of shit. Well, if it's a piece of shit, why did you buy three? Just trying to one-upmanship. Firearms, same thing. You go to some competition and some guys, like, if he doesn't do a perfect bullseye on every single thing, he's like angry. You don't want a guy that's like angry with a firearm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, chill out, man. It's a people issue. You know. Duels for politicians, boxing matches for everybody else. Wiffle paddles, something else. I took a couple of years of martial arts and I didn't enjoy it. But one of the things that I did enjoy, I don't know what it's called, is they gave you like this bat that was padded. Okay, so just imagine like a baseball bat but soft. But you still can, it's like hitting somebody with a pillow. Best way example is give them those. That way nobody gets hurt. But they could, first person gets knocked off their feet. They're out, I don't remember what it's called. It's like, yeah, I do not like martial arts. I take fights personal. Not like, oh, well, they're trying. No. Nope. No. I don't have personality type for that. But I'm not a politician. I can't even be part of I can't even be on the board of whatever your little neighborhood group is. Because you have this meeting and nothing gets done. I'm like, let's do something, or you're wasting my time. Like, why are we like going around with like Robert's rules and shit like that? I mean, I understand you got to have order. I don't like chaos, but you're just dancing around the problem. Man, it's early. It really is early. Well, that's good because these guys should have already been done, but it takes some time getting all these things lined up. I've watched too many westerns as a kid. I don't know. I always liked seeing the asshole get their comeuppance. Yep. I've seen maybe 6 westerns in my life. Why? My dad wasn't in them. My dad wasn't into them, so I didn't watch them. It's kind of a time period that doesn't really interest me. It's better than the Civil War by a long shot. I don't like ACW at all. It's like westerns with like shittier hairstyles. and facial hair just gone wild. Facial hair gone wild. The American Civil War. But I never liked this. I never liked the Western firearms. That's probably part of it. But the main thing is my dad didn't watch them. But my dad didn't watch World War II stuff. But I grew up watching, like Guns and Navarone and shit like that. That's the one they always played on TBS. TBS was the one channel they always had all the war movies on. ACW is not for everybody. Just like Napoleonics. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like either one. But if I have to pick one, it's Napoleonics. I'm already American. And I'm glad. So, and my people weren't over here, though, in the Civil War. We're eating, we're picking olives in the old country. So there's not that attraction of, well, my get your grandpappy on one side fought for this regiment or whatever, and the other one fought for the, I don't, that's lost on me, and I think I think that's a big appeal to a lot of people that are in the the American Civil War, especially if they have people on both sides, because it's kind of like, Family Feud, but I don't have that, so for me it's just it's I'm already playing American, and I'm already American. There's only one side, ish, and I don't like the uniforms, the time period, and any of that stuff. So Napoleonics at least is different countries, which is what I'm used to. Now a lot of them have the same gear on. I know they got different stripes and a little thing, and they basically have the same thing. You know, there's exceptions, but for the most part, everybody's wearing shakos and and that kind of stuff, wearing X straps on their their things. Yes, there's variations, but you know. You have ancestors who fought for the Confederacy, and am neither proud or ashamed of it. It is what it is. And that's the right attitude to have. Yep. It is what it is. There's a term that I found, and I can never remember what it is. That's basically, in a nutshell, is judging people from ago by today's standards. Relativist, I think it's called, something like that, and that just doesn't make sense to me. You need to judge them. If you're going to judge them at all, you judge them by their time. You know, And if you were like, even in your time, you were an asshole, you were not doing real well. So the Assyrians, nobody liked the Assyrians back then. Like, they took things way too far. Mongols, they were dickheads back then too. Gotta run the missus to work. Okay. Yeah, put her to work. Or make her paint figures. I could spend probably all day in the same room with my wife. I don't know if I'd want her painting figures with me. You would want somebody to, I wouldn't paint in that color. Just stay away and do your thing. I don't get into stuff that you're really good at, so don't mess with my painting. I've said that before. What would the quality in your significant other be that would be intolerable for you? For me, it would be question my directions. I couldn't deal with it. I'm getting angry just thinking about it. Like, nope. I was put on this earth to not get lost. That's what I do, And I may suck at everything else, and I suck at a lot of things, but it isn't that. And it's not because of Google Earth. I'm like, I got it from my dad, So, yeah, I can't imagine. Why are you making a left there? You need to go this way, I'm like, I'm out. I'd have to go to prison or something. That would be a terrible fault for me. It'd be like if somebody was like a really good cook, and the other person would be like, "Hey, you're making that wrong." You don't want to listen to that shit. And no, my wife doesn't sound like that, and hopefully nobody's does. Not like a parrot that needs to be oiled. My wife's cool. I'm the one that bitches. Oh, man. All right. So we have this cacophony of spare parts. Let's try to make some sense of this. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is these loaders are going to, well, no, this is one thing that I was kind of on the fence about. I might actually glue them on the stand. Because normally what I would do is I'd glue them on here. And then what happens is, because I want to remove them in case they're a casualty. No, I think I'd rather have them on the stand. Even though they look okay like this. But the gunner is going to have to fit in this little seat. And there's no way to glue them in. I don't want them glued in. I want them removed. So we're going to take the two gunners and we're going to take a little bit of stickum here. Nobody found any of that funny? It's definitely, you guys are a bunch of bots. The bots are watching. Okay. We're going to put that guy there. And then we're going to do another one with a penny. We're going to need three more pennies. So let's see where my penny stash is. Should be here. Of course it's not. We have other ways of getting pennies. Like pop some figures off that are on them that we're not going to paint anytime soon. Who are these guys? FAA Germans. They're not going to get painted anytime soon. These guys suck. Sorry, not an FAA fan. Honestly, I think they're terrible. I don't know that I could salvage them. This guy's okay, but he's the Steiner figure. And it looks like Coburn. The problem is the other guy looks like Coburn too. Actually, it looked like Eddie from Iron Maiden. Got that gaunt ass face. Looks good on a mummy, but this is no mummy. Gaunt ass face. I don't have that many. I got maybe 15 of them. I probably super glued those guys on the stand 20 years ago. Probably more than 20 years ago. Okay, and then the other guy, Oh, am I short a penny? Gee whiz. These are really nice figures, though. The sculpting on them is very nice. All right, so let's man, what did I do with it? That's where it should be. It should be in that. Well, it's never been in that drawer before, which is why it's not there. Let's see. Could they be here? We'll just have to grab another figure and pop them off the stand. Actually, there's one right here. And then we can't put the gunner on a base because he basically fits inside the gun. Okay. All right, so we're gonna have to change gears a little bit. It's still early. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something different, and I kind of have. Well, I don't have to do that right now, because we're not going to do anything else with these tonight. We're going to have to prime them. We're not going to prime them right now. We're just going to move these 2-pounders off to the side with the cruise, and we'll go back to working on this fellow that we were working on here, that we need to do his basing on. We need to add a little magnet to the bottom of him. Litco heavy duty magnets. But you still have to trim them up a little bit. Well, you don't have to trim them up. I choose to. So we're gonna try to run through 9. At 9 we'll stop. We're gonna stop early. Let's stop at a reasonable time. And the reason you want this on here is because we're going to put the goop on his stand. And in order to do that, we need to attach this to something else that's not going to slip on you. That's where the magnet comes in. Oh, we got Sloan all knocked out, so we're going to go ahead and put him on one of these. And let's get the goop out. And very small rocks wrong with the goop. Very small rocks for accompaniment. Water time. Be right back. And we're going to use the little boy's room. I'll be right back for that too. Okay, so of course we're going to use the Vallejo Diorama FX. That's what this stuff is called now. Ground texture, rough gray pumice. It comes in all kinds of different flavors. This is the one that we use right now until they end up discontinuing this, which is why I switched to this in the first place. What I was using before, they decided it was not a sustainable material. Well, you're not going to sell very many products if you discontinue them, so that's why we switched from Liquitex. But actually, this is better. But I didn't switch because I wanted to, try this out. I'm pretty loyal in the stuff that I do. When a product starts going sideways or it starts becoming not available, well then, we got to find another avenue. But I don't automatically go and like, you know what? Let me see if this grass is greener on the other side. I don't normally do that kind of stuff. I'm not against it, but that's just, if things are going fine, I don't screw with things. Is what I'm getting at. When you got everything that's being made by the same materials, you go and you switch, and you want everything to look consistent. You go and you switch to a different material. Now you don't have things that look consistent. So we're going to do some different stuff this weekend. It's going to be kind of unusual. I'm going to have a lot of free time this weekend. Well, I am and I'm not. I've got to work on Saturday a full day. So that's going to put a damper in things. But we should be on here every day. And the mornings are working out. So I'll be on in the mornings too. So these figures aren't going to paint themselves. Put a couple of, you want to rinse this, I guess I'll rinse it there. You don't want to leave this stuff on here, not because you can't get it off, but then you have to dip this in water, and this isn't 100% stainless. I ended up getting some rust on it. I mean, only I can see it because I got my contacts out and I'm nearsighted, but we don't want our stuff getting all rustified. Sealed for your protection. So it doesn't come out and bite me. Alright, Sloan. Get some rocks, eh? Yep. A couple of them. Put one there. That's one of the things that we're going to do this weekend is we're going to do entrenchments. Desert entrenchments. So the basing on that will match the rest of this basing. That's quite enough with the rocks. Okay, now we'll put this away. So we were working on this lad here, which is just a basic Airfix Enfield rifleman. And we got his shorts done. So next, of course, is the blouse. We can put this away. We don't need to chop anything up. Don't need the X-Acto knife. Don't need the tweezers. Alright, usual suspects. Man, yawnifying. I'm gonna use khaki. We got khaki. Let me use a different. Let me use a different color. There's lots of khaki-like colors that aren't khaki. Let's use the skeleton bone. I don't use this war paint or stuff very often. But before that, we're going to need our usual suspects, which of course are Mr. Black and Mrs. White. Skeleton bone. We can get rid of the sandpaper too. For a couple days anyways. Till the next couple things come in the mail. Which, let me check. I think one of them's on Saturday and Monday. That sucks that something's coming on Monday. I'm going to have too many things. Well, at least I don't have Mitch night on Monday too. That was a pain in the butt. You get something in on a Monday and you want to show it off, and it's the same day, and I basically don't get back until midnight. That was annoying. Ugh. What was I looking up? Oh yeah, when the things arrive. Track package. Well, somebody's sitting on a lily because this one's not really that far away. Accepted the package. That's fine. Now fucking mail it. Yeah, that's the one I think it was supposed to get here on Sunday. I'm sorry. I'm Saturday. No, maybe it'll get here on Saturday, one day early. Because next week I'll have the daughter will be in. Not that she keeps me from doing stuff, but you know, there's no daughter here right now, so it's like free reign. All right. And of course I moved all the brushes out of the way. So let's get these back over here. Oh, we have a turret. Hello. The turret to the A13. So let's go mix up a batch that we're going to paint the entire shirt with. 78%, but still. No point in not charging this. What time is it? 7:45. Tell you what, if we don't have anybody that comes in by 8 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and shut this one down. Yeah, just sometimes just isn't people's night where they don't want to engage. This is really what takes the longest, is the shirt and the pants. Or in this case, the shorts. Okay, that's the shirt of that lad. Three silent folks, supposedly. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and scrub. We've been on here for a couple hours, and nobody seems to be coming by, so we'll catch you guys on the next one.